cannot possibly comprehend. You're a man-child. The H-1B visa program is a total and complete scam concocted by the lords of easy money on Wall Street and the oligarchs in Silicon Valley to both initially to just increase profit margins. But there's a darker element to it today, a contempt of America and American citizens, and we're not going to tolerate it.
Hey, everybody, welcome back tonight. I've got something I wasn't planning, actually wasn't even looking at when I ran across the clip today of our boy Steve Bannon sitting in his war room radio station sounding off about the president's boyfriend there, Elon Musk. Yeah, it seems that Elon has gotten underneath Steve's skin quite a bit. And if Steve's not careful, he can be bought and paid for. Real quick. Elon's not afraid to spend the money to remove obstacles. But I digress. Mr. Bannon, in that opening clip I just showed you, was railing heavily against the H-1B visa program. Now, we've had a little chat about this in a couple other podcasts that I've done. I have a couple of friends that are here in the country from the Middle East who are very skilled doctors in a very new medical research area in regarding to heart care, non-invasive heart care for heart attack patients. And their technology is really outstanding. When he tries to explain it to me, I'm like, stop, I'm good with that. But I digress. The H-1B visa program, under its current name and current use, brings into our country very talented people that we don't have for one reason or another. It's not through the lack of smart people here in the country. It's, skilled people who have an unusual talent for what they do. I discussed it in a previous podcast that during the end of World War II, the United States had a very similar program. It just wasn't called the H-1B, and there wasn't a lot of screaming and wailing and gnashing of teeth about the boogeyman aliens coming into the country. We actually imported most, if not all, of Hitler's rocket scientists that had developed the V-2 rocket that had all but destroyed England and the UK. Wernher von Braun being the most notable of them, but he brought several of his partners and his fellow rocket scientists, and they developed what turned out to be the Saturn rocket program here in the United States that ended up putting us on the moon before anybody else. So I digress back that Mr. Bannon is barking up the wrong tree when he tries to scream at the richest man on the planet, who now, according to the latest Forbes report that I heard today, is going on $500 billion, a half a trillion. That number's a little scary for me to say. I'm sorry I stumbled over it, but a half a trillionaire, he's got everyone's attention. Personally, I don't give a red rat's ass about him or his money or his car. I think he's an impetuous little man-child. But I digress. Elon brings in extremely high talented people that understand how to make his rockets do things that NASA wasn't able to do in the last 50 years, because I can remember being a little boy listening to the first Mercury rocket go up with and I believe it was Alan Shepard, that went straight up, and as the Earth turned underneath it, he fell straight back down into the ocean. That was a major feat. 50 years later, we no longer have a rocket program through the horrible incidences and the horrible loss of life during the shuttle program, the Apollo astronauts that died on the launch pad. Through all that, NASA basically shut down and became a shadow of itself until Elon came along. In between NASA and Elon, the European space program took off, no pun intended, like a rocket. But I digress. The reason that Elon's rockets are so strong is he was able to figure out what the Germans were doing when they were using pure oxygen in their engines to go along with the other fuels, and how to keep those engines, those particular engines, from exploding when they ignited. Elon's people, not Elon, but Elon's people were able to figure that out. And then they were able to figure out the telemetry. Then they were able to figure out how to land one of their rockets on a floating barge in the middle of the ocean. Damn, I'm lucky I can stand on one of those, let alone set a rocket down. Again, Elon's talented people, not Elon. Okay, so right on down to the latest of Elon capturing Starship's booster phase in what they referred to as chopsticks. I have to admit, I was impressed as all hell when I watched that event happen. The second one didn't go so well. They figured out what that problem is. Supposedly they're going to solve that problem in the next launch. But I digress. Elon wants these people. Elon needs these people. If Tesla's going to improve their battery technology to go beyond lithium ion and to go into solid state, and Musk really does want to promote his rocket company and get people to Mars. That's what Starship is all about. That's why it's doing all these testings and doing all these elaborate little things. He needs H-1B visa program people. I'm not sure what country they're coming from. I would love to have an opportunity to talk with some of them, but I haven't had that. But Mr. Bannon, the topic of tonight's discussion, is railing up against Elon in a fashion that, anybody else out in the street, you'd have to be looking over your shoulder, because it's not going to work out for him. Elon bought his seat at the Trump greed table with a $250 million campaign donation, which effectively did get him over the finish line. Okay? Elon's money, $250 million, is pocket change for him. This is a guy who's worth almost $500 billion between his Dogecoin, between his car company, between his satellite company, and between his other investments. This guy makes more in 5 minutes waking up in the morning than most of people like you and me will make in our lifetime. Okay? So when Mr. Bannon keeps railing up against Moneyboy, he's eventually going to find himself on the outside. Trump can't afford to throw out Elon. Elon's the big Easter egg, Elon keeps leaving little Easter egg baskets around for Donald. And Donald is never, ever going to side with Bannon over Musk. It's just not going to happen. On a related matter, and I wonder if Mr. Musk isn't looking at this, Mr. Bannon has to answer up in New York State Court very shortly for his fraud case where he embezzled millions of dollars of money from people who signed up to help his private venture build the wall. And he swore up and down that every dime was going to go to the wall, that there were going to be none of his personal expenses taken out of it, and nobody was getting paid. When in fact, it was exactly the opposite of that. Very little, if any, money actually went to the wall, and most of it went into Bannon and Bannon's staff's pockets to live a better life than they should have been doing at the time. So I guess I'm going to end this podcast with a call out to Steve Bannon. It's like, Steve, watch your six, babe, because I think Musk has got a crosshair on it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. Again, if you like what I'm doing here, if you find any humor, any satisfaction, any bit of information in it that you like, please hit the subscribe button, like my podcast, and help me build it. Help me build it to be out here a little bit longer. Help me put this thing together to help all of us. With that, folks, I'm going to say good night and thank you.